reviews. B-Movie Mike Reviews. B-Movie Mike Reviews.
Hey, this is B-Movie Mike, and I'm back at you with another movie review. This film is from the creators of Saw and Paranormal Activity, and that would be 2011's Insidious. Directed by James Wan, whose previous credits include Saw and Dead Silence. This film stars Patrick Wilson, who was the Owl Man from The Watchmen, and Rose Byrne, whose previous credits include 28 Weeks Later. Insidious starts out with your average American family moving into a dream house, and they're just getting established, and one day their son goes upstairs and he's playing around in the attic and he falls down and hurts himself. Well, then he goes into a coma, and the doctors can't seem to explain what's going on with him. He seems to be fine and he shouldn't be in a coma, but he's in a coma. The boy's parents decide to keep him at home instead of keeping him at the hospital. It's easier for them to keep an eye on him, and they have a baby monitor set up in his room so his mom can monitor what's going on. And over time, she starts hearing weird noises and weird voices over the baby monitor. And over time, after several paranormal events, she has a talk with her husband, and they decide that the house must be haunted, even though he doesn't really believe it. But to make her happy, he agrees to move into a new house. After they move into the new house, everything seems kind of quiet for a little while, but then the same stuff starts happening again. But now the husband's at his wit's end because he just cannot afford to move anymore. He's done everything he can to keep his wife happy. He still really doesn't believe it, but he reluctantly agrees to have a psychic come over and check it out. After talking with the psychic, he just cannot wrap his head around this stuff. He doesn't believe in it, and he finally puts his foot down and he says, no, I'm not going to do this, and he tells the psychic to go away. The strange things keep happening. It keeps getting worse. The activity just ramps up to a level that they can't stand anymore, so he reluctantly agrees to bring her back, and this time the psychic brings her team of paranormal investigators with her. And unfortunately, this is where the movie starts to unravel for me. We go into a series of seances where she puts on this like World War II gas mask so the guy can hear what she's whispering when she's contacting the spirits or whatever. I've had people tell me it's an interesting way to smoke weed, but I don't know how well it would work as a communications device. We eventually learn that the son, like his father, can astral project out of his body. Now, the little boy thinks he's dreaming, but his soul is actually leaving his body, and leaving his body is an empty vessel. Now, there's a bunch of spirits that are trying to possess his body because they want to be alive again. And the main spirit is an evil, malevolent spirit. And unfortunately, when we meet him, he turns out to look like a combination of Freddy Krueger and Darth Maul. It's really disappointing, and it's not scary at all. Well, later on in the film, it's decided that the only way the boy can be saved is if the father reacquaints himself with his astral projection powers and projects himself into this land called the Further to retrieve his son and break him out of this room that the evil spirit has him locked in. And while I did appreciate the creepy and atmospheric world that the Further was presented as, the director and the producers did a pretty good job. I couldn't help but think that they borrowed heavily from The Shining, a movie that is far superior to this movie. I mean, you had the creepy twins, but in The Shining, there was a much more graphic ending with that scene. Just the overall different things that happened in The Shining, like the weird things that happened in some of the rooms, and when Jack met the beautiful lady that turned into an old woman. The Shining was just a far superior movie, so when you bring back memories of The Shining, you better be a pretty good movie, and unfortunately Insidious just wasn't good enough to evoke such memories. And the ending of the film is just worst of all. I'm not going to give it away. I've already given away most of the movie. Just see it for yourself and decide for yourself. I've read a lot of great reviews for this movie, and a lot of people said it's the scariest movie they've ever seen. Not so much for me. The ending is really bad and ruins an otherwise decent movie. I mean, it had me till about the halfway point, and then it just spiraled downhill from there. Some of the visuals are decent. They did, put some effort into it, and it was a decent job, but I didn't find it scary. The PG-13 rating didn't help it at all, and I really just don't understand why people love this movie so much. I didn't think it was that good. So my final thoughts on the film would be the acting was good, the directing was decent, but the special effects looked pretty good too. But the story was just crap after the second half, and definitely I would recommend that you rent this before you buy it. Who knows, you may end up loving it like everybody else, or you may end up being like me and just happy that you rented it and didn't waste your money. Well, that brings this review to a close. Don't forget to check out all the awesome channels in my More Channels of Movie Madness section on my channel there, and I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks for watching.